My biggest lesson this week came from an unexpected place. I was reading from a blog of a well-renowned financial management company called Centonomy, as some of you might know about it. And the article was appropriately financial management for the stay-at-home mom. Yes, that's right, financial management for the stay-at-home mom. I was there pouring on this article, and what drew me to it was, number one, I work from home most of the time. And many of you are familiar with home now more than before. I stay with my sister and my cousin, who are both female, and balancing house chores has become a bit of overwhelming for me as I was getting taught on how to take care of a house. And number three is, I'm not female, nor am I a mom. So I'm just curious to put myself in the shoes of a stay-at-home mom. So save your questions for now. But I'll proceed to some of the takeaways from this article. And number one, homemaking is a job. It takes effort and mindfulness to support family members and the general household. Number two is that staying at home doesn't stop learning. A little discipline in finding pockets of time can help you start these additional skills. As for me, it is financial management as I was reading this article, and that's my message for you today. That we have to take care and we have to consider home as a place for not just as we're trying to balance work and play at home, it becomes a bit overwhelming. So homemaking is a job, and staying at home does not stop learning. And number three is that someone should really write about financial management for the stay-at-home brother, son, or father. I'll be a huge fan of this. So this is not a request, it's a statement. Someone should really write about this. I share with you this story because home is where we get together to enjoy love, laughter, and joy with those we care about. It's a subtle reminder of why we're alive and why we strive to do what we do, be it in education or professional growth. And so just like home, we're here to share this common bond of making positive impact in our lives and those that we interact with. Sharing is caring, and like home, stories and experiences bring us together. I encourage you today to share your experiences to improve on the quality of conversations going on. So whether you're a student or a recent graduate, sharing the perspective can bring a fresh angle on the commonly talked about topics. To be established and growing professional, I'm counting on your expertise in this. A little discipline will go a long way. So keep your points short and clear and be succinct. Our objective here is to share and leave with something we've learned and we can apply to become more innovative, begin or improve on our practice, and make an impact in our personal and professional lives. Let's bear this in mind as we go along. My name is Warren, and I welcome you to the 4th Energy Professionals Roundtable. I'll now hand it over to Chris Bori of Innovators for a few opening remarks. Chris, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, Warren, for such a great opening to this roundtable. So welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, all over from around the world. I just want to welcome all of you. This has been personally one of my most anticipated roundtables, and it's because it really speaks close to my heart, especially the topics that we are going to talk about today. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been holed up in the western side of the country. This is after our president opened up our borders. We've ran away from home. After Warren has just said how working from home for men has been a challenge. But here we ran away from home to come and do some work. And we've been holed up in a site that doing an energy audit, looking for opportunities. And we've seen so much opportunities in terms of energy efficiency, in terms of water management. And we felt that the 2 weeks has not been sufficient. And we feel like we need another 2 weeks, not because we want to run away from home, but because the time is just not enough. And so it just got me thinking this morning, like what can we do so that we can give this client more value. And probably we cannot extend our 24 hours. Time is finite, it's kind of limited. It's one of the most limiting resources that we have in this life, in this world. So we can't do much on time. We cannot extend it. And I was just thinking about what can we do so that we give this client maybe more value? And it just got me back to the topic that we're going to talk about today, and which is to do with the youth, to do with the skills, to do with technology. Yes, I feel that if we're able to bring in more youth, bring in more professionals with the right skills to this industry, armed with the right technology, then we can be able to do more for these clients. And we'll not probably need 2 weeks, and maybe we'll just need to do to give this client the same value in less than a week if we have the right people and the right skills and the right technology. So today's topic is kind of very, very important, very close to my heart. And more so also the speakers that are going to be with us today. Now we have Colleta, who's a couple of years ago, I was going to the space. I if I could have good TV, if I could watch
Warren, it seems he has dropped off.
Yeah, just a minute. Yeah, Chris might have dropped off there for just a moment, but we'll be joining in shortly. So without further ado, then we shall just proceed to Moses, who will run us through the event modalities. Moses, welcome.
Thank you very much, Warren. My name is Moses Waibora, and I am here to offer you technical support to ensure that the meeting runs seamlessly. So in order to do this, we have some housekeeping rules that we advise us to follow through. Okay, before I really delve into what I have in store for us, I have just some 2 pointers that I would like to give. First of all, for us to be as brief as possible, when contributing, simply say your name and proceed with your question or your comment. And you have up to 1 minute to do that. After you have exceeded 1 minute of asking a question or giving your comment, I shall share my screen to an hourglass. When you see an hourglass, just know that means that you have 30 seconds to sum up your point. Okay, we shall have 2 breakout rooms later on after the question and answer segment. These are the career growth room that shall be led with Colleta, and a professional capacity building room which will be led by Yolanda. To help with sorting people, which is to help assign you to one of those 2 rooms, either the career growth room or the capacity building room, at the end of your name, insert the letters CG to signify career growth for the career growth room, or PCB for the professional capacity building room that shall be led with Yolanda. To edit your name with either career growth room as CG or professional capacity building room as PCB, click on the participants icon at the bottom of your screen, and then go to your name, your arrow or your cursor right next to your name, and at the end you have the option of rename. When you click on rename, go towards the end of your name and insert either CG to signify club growth, to signify career growth room, or PCB to signify professional capacity building room. Okay, now I will move on to the housekeeping tools. The first one is to ensure you have sufficient data to sustain the meeting by having at least 2 GB worth of mobile data or worth of data, or be close to strong Wi-Fi, as close as possible to it. To avoid distractions of noise and movement in your background, we have muted you and shall only unmute you when you have a question, to which you are advised to either raise your hand on video like this, or click on the participants list and click on the raise hand option. We will be able to select you to ask your question. The meeting shall be recorded and the video sent to each participant. Therefore, if you are participating in the meeting and feel like you are sharing sensitive content and you are not comfortable with you being recorded, kindly let us know and we shall pause the recording during your session. Avoid logging in with 2 devices, which usually causes an echo when you speak, but when you log in with 2 devices, make sure that one is muted so that you will not have an echo when you're asking a question or participating. The chat function, I believe, has been enabled, but try and only engage when asking a question, or when you have a question about technical support or about the meeting, which you can let me know about it. On to the last slide. Maintain good meeting etiquette during the meeting. Thank you very much. Back to you, Warren.
Thank you, Moses. The instructions are clear. And now I'll proceed to our next part, which is giving us a bit of introduction to why we're here and who we have in the house. So the World Energy Day celebrations are held worldwide every year in October. In Kenya, AREA Energy and Innovators Limited are organizing the World Energy Day Conference of 2020 to be held between 22nd and 23rd of October 2020. The theme for this event will be the future of energy in Africa: innovation, efficiency, and interoperability. In the spirit of realizing this future, the roundtable discussions like this allow us to slowly chew away at some of the big agenda items facing humanity. Today we're exploring trends, skills, and technology, as well as innovation for a brighter Africa. We have movers and shakers in the room. We have Joakim, the CEO of Absolicon, who will be addressing on technology and innovation. We have Yolanda of the Institute of Energy Professionals, who will be taking us through capacity building. And we have Colleta Macharia of Cogent Afrique, who will be our able guide on career selection and career growth. So more on their profile as we go along. Our first presentation will help us address capacity building for energy professionals. How do we remain vital in the face of change? Yolanda de Lange will take us through this, drawing from her years of experience in the capacity building industry. 2 things to note about Yolanda. One is that she is the executive director at the Institute of Energy Professionals Africa, that's IEPA, which represents the Association of Energy Engineers, AEE, in Sub-Saharan Africa. And 2 is that I found it really interesting that she's been an editor for an energy magazine called Electricity and Control Magazine. She had been an editor for 13 years. I'm sure these combined experiences in the energy field as well as management can be quite revealing. Welcome, and please feel free to share, to fill us in on any other detail that we're missing out on your professional background, Yolanda. Welcome.
Thank you, Warren. I noticed you shared my old CV, so I have 10 years experience. Just a pity the face didn't remain in the old days. Thank you for the nice introduction, and welcome to everyone on the platform. I had a look, some of you have been in our classes, so I recognized quite a lot of names. Very encouraged that you still want to learn more and be on this platform to find out how you can learn more. So when I looked at the titles, I thought, okay, change, you know, if you remember in the energy industry's context, change is something that's going to happen in the future. If you look at COP, we're already at COP 26. That's 26 years of talking about changing. And then COVID happened, and we changed, some of us within 24 hours. So it can be done much quicker. In days, we learn to be super efficient in the way we work. One almost wishes there could be a COVID for the energy industry, so that organizations and people can change the way they think about using energy completely differently and take us abruptly back to the future with energy efficiency at its core. Energy professionals, to me, is such a wide industry. I would rather call it energy efficiency professionals, because that's where efficient use of energy starts. That is where you get your optimal use of the money you invest in providing energy. So this talk should actually be, can you not hear me?
We can hear you perfectly well.
Okay. So this talk should actually be, where can I find an energy professional? Because this profession is ahead of its time. We already have known for many years what others only are learning to understand now, and that is to do more with what they already have. So to make the challenges of the last few months count, we need to learn from it and apply that to our industry. And I've seen this already happening. Economies are crashing one after the others, and funders are coming back with sustainable recovery plans and restarting economies, but in a greener way. Now, I hate the word greener, but that is what they call it. You know, greener is when you water grass and the grass gets greener. But if emissions are better, your skies are clearer. So we should call it the blue industry. But anyway, that's a whole another debate. All conditions now, if you apply for funding and to get access to any money, is tied to green economy requirements. It includes things like transport, energy efficiency, renewable energy. There's a huge drive as well in all the other countries and the major organizations towards policy development within countries that they must implement greener strategies. The executive director of the International Energy Agency, Dr. Fatih Birol, said governments have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity now to reboot their economies and bring a wave of new employment opportunities whilst accelerating a shift to a more resilient and cleaner energy future. So they have released a sustainable recovery plan, and where they're urging policymakers, they're sort of forcing them to implement policies with green in mind. So you can't access any money for work, and I see this is going to become a lot more prevalent. You won't be get access to money unless you do focus on having a more sustainable economy, climate change mitigation. All those aspects must be in it. So for a country to access funding, they will have to look at that. The buzzword as well that I've seen is called just energy transition. So we have many people around, you mechanical engineers, electrical engineers. However, they need to be reskilled and upskilled into the energy transition arena. So just being an electrician now is not enough anymore. You need to start specializing, and you need to start setting yourself apart from others with a similar degree so that you can sustain your own future. So what can one do to navigate the future of energy professionals' requirements to remain relevant and to maintain their positions of being ahead of time? Well, you all know Louis Lagrange, if you've been in his class. He always says, it depends. It depends where you are now in your career. It depends who you work for. Do you have your own business? That's different skills you would need to need. And the world seems to be moving to smaller businesses and entrepreneurship. In South Africa, that's definitely the case. Large companies are not employing high-cost skills anymore. They are hiring them in on an ad hoc basis. So what is your passion? You need to follow your passion. If you don't follow your passion in your job, it will become a schlep. You need to feel, what do you feel you are good in your work? So there's a quote, Confucius has a quote, and it's not a confusing quote. He says, do what you love, and basically it comes down to you will never work a day in your life. So my message to you today is to be efficient in your approach and how you approach your future energy skills development. If you're going to choose something that's not your natural passion and that you don't love, that's going to be hard to sustain and become a specialist in it. So find your groove, find your passion. The energy industry is very wide. There's so much to choose from. There's technology-specific skills, there's service-specific skills, there's industry-specific skills, and the same principles of energy apply whether you're making paper, whether you're producing power, whether you're running a building. So there's so much scope. So if something comes naturally to you, focus on that, and you will reach your goal much quicker and with less effort, and you will be able to sustain it. Don't worry, don't throw away all the rest. I mean, 80% of what you do must be what you love. We all have to still do filing. We all have to still crunch numbers to make them work. Pour a glass of wine to help you through that. That's what I do. But make your main focus what is your passion. Then it won't be hard. Your heart will follow you and industry will follow you. So when you are passionate about something, your supervisor or your client will pick up on it, and they will want to be in your journey with you. They will want you back because they learn from you. When you're passionate about something, you share it. It doesn't mean you give away what you know. You share it, and they become part of your journey. You will be able to sell your ideas and your solutions to them much quicker. So let me be more specific. Say you've already achieved your CEM. That means you've got quite a lot of experience behind your belt already, because that is what's required to get a CEM. So think about what really excited you about your CEM and what you are doing now, and where it could be best applied in the green economy, aligned with what your government is putting forward. So remember, CEM gives you a summary of everything you do. And it's got a holistic view of things. It by no means makes you a specialist in any field. From there, you must choose what you want to specialize in and upskill and reskill and continuously skill yourself so that you can remain ahead of time. So for instance, from CEM, you can choose to specialize in auditing. So there are training programs and certification programs available for energy auditing. Go and take your CEM, and now you want to audit, go specialize in the auditing field. A CEM qualification does not make you an auditor. It makes you somebody who understands the holistic view. Or you may want to specialize in working in a certain industry. For instance, find out, learn more about the processes. Say tea production is your passion and you want to work in agricultural. Find out more about the processes and learn more about the processes there. Say industry is your passion. AE now has the Certified Industrial Energy Professional. That's industrially focused. So if you are going to be a CEM and you find working in industry, big manufacturing companies, focus on industrial energy efficiency, that certification is available. In addition, there's specific technologies you can focus on. You can focus on motors. You can focus on fans. We've got a fans course coming up now. 2 days only focusing on fans. And that way you become a specialist in your area. and become that specialist in your country. There aren't many people in the African countries that specialize. You want to be the go-to person. You want to become Mr. Pumps. We've got a guy in South Africa that calls himself Mr. Pumps because everybody calls on him when they want to know something about pumps. Carve out that niche for yourself. One other side of energy is the business aspect. We have the Certified Business Energy Professional, which focuses on financials. So if you work in a company and you are reporting to an accountant, get them to do the business energy professional, that they understand what you are doing. It will also make your life easier to go further. So encourage others around you to learn more about what you are doing, because then they will uptake what you need to do much quicker. So also, if you are good in accounting, that's a huge, you might be an engineer, but also have a talent in financials. Measurement and verification. I think that is going to become the most critical aspect of all things in the world. You cannot just implement a project and walk away from it. You need to measure and verify, and companies and organizations and financial institutions want to know, we're going to loan you this money at less rates, we're going to give you this funding. How are you going to prove you're actually delivering on what you promised? Then also consider where you are working now. If you're a business owner of an energy services company, and in Kenya, energy services companies is something that needs to start being established. You need to move in that direction, because you can't just do an audit and walk away. You need to provide a comprehensive service so that companies can get true benefit of your interventions. Today, more than ever, the pressure on businesses are there to retrench people. Businesses are closing down. So you need to set yourself apart through educating yourself and specializing yourself, so that if your manager needs to choose who to let go, that they don't have a choice but keep you. You want to look after yourself and upskill yourself, that your company needs you and that you remain ahead of your game. So some topics in the International Energy Agency Sustainability Recovery Plan, which are pulled out, and they are one specifically for Africa, and that will be driven in Africa, and where you could also focus on skilling yourself, because that's where the funding will come from. And let's not give the jobs to the Europeans. Let's not give the jobs to the Americans. We have so many passionate African people on our continent. I've met you all. You're hungry to learn. You want to make a difference. Let's keep the money in our continent. Our people need it. Our people are hungry. The IEA says one of the critical things that will happen is electricity access. We still have a lot of people that don't have electricity access. That is an area where there will be monies available. Get to know that industry. Partner with people in that industry, and learn from them. The other topic is batteries for vehicles, energy storage. There you can learn about design, innovation, manufacturing it, maintaining this, the installation of this, system design considerations, safety. The other aspect they highlighted for Africa is clean cook stoves. That needs to be manufactured, that needs to be distributed, and there's lots of access to funding for this. A very big drive which I saw is, and they don't call it green buildings, and I am saying hallelujah to that one. They're calling it retrofitting buildings to improve energy efficiency. Because a green building is something that gets a green star and you walk away, and you need to make sure it's a retrofitted that continuous energy efficiency can happen. And that those words are verbatim from that report. And so there's so much for buildings to be energy efficient. Building management systems, become the go-to person for building management systems. HVAC, redesigning HVAC. Various products, think about fenestration, insulation, lighting, upskilling facilities management. That's just what we call JET, not jet like we're flying, because that we can't do in South Africa anymore, but just energy transition. Facilities managers need to become energy efficiency experts. They all need to be reskilled. They don't have a choice. Maintenance on electricity grids, that's a huge thing in South Africa. I don't know about Kenya, but we haven't maintained our grids since ANC government came in. They estimate, the IEA estimates that across Africa there will be a 40% increase in spend on maintaining grids, because that's the core of getting the power to the people. You can't, doesn't matter how efficient you generate or how efficient you use, if you can't get the power and good quality power, what's the point? Hydrogen is another aspect. Renewables, attending a certified renewable energy course will completely widen your scope. It's not wind and solar. It's got so many other aspects. It's got so many other alternative energies. Renewables is a very sexy term. It's something you can see. All the other things are things you need to think about. People can't see it. So the public grab onto that solar panel because they can see it. We need marketing in these areas that people can understand. That panel will cost you a lot more if you're not energy efficient. And that message, sadly, is not coming through these things I'm seeing coming out still. So we need funding for marketing to educate people, not about a sexy solar panel or a fancy wind turbine, but using what you have already. Then you might not need 100,000 rands panels, you might only need 30,000 rands panels. Energy efficiency in manufacturing of food, textiles. This is where you are now, and this is where you can specialize on systems within those factories. And then a big thing is low carbon transport and low carbon infrastructure for transport and sustainable cities. That is a huge thing. Town planners need to upskill themselves. And also, don't go and get other people in from other countries. You guys, you know what you're doing. Upskill yourself, do it yourself. Keep the money in Africa. Keep the jobs in Africa. Look at what your country's strategy is and for economic recovery. And drive your country to push for all these things that the IEA are recommending, because they are really good things and they are researched, from all of us giving feedback. What I do hope will happen is that governments will understand that simply putting a policy in place won't do anything. You need to create an enabling environment so that those policies can be implemented. Simply issuing a regulation to say you need energy audits, in each industry or for each building or something like that, will only give the government data. Doesn't make your building energy efficient. You need a follow-up. And here too, it must be tied to implementation. It must have a baseline adjustment within it so that you can verify every year that you're saving year on year and maintaining those savings. And that is the only way you can deliver, credible projects, and the only way you can maintain the savings you've implemented. I have this thing, ISO 50001. I've loved that standard from the beginning. It's the only standard that doesn't cost you money to implement, but saves you money to implement. And without a standard like that, with a measurement and verification component, you can't track and manage continuously that energy management. So an energy management strategy for each organization and each project you implement. And that's where an ESCO comes in. The energy services company can provide that service. So to summarize, what is your country's strategic plan to economic recovery? Look at that. Align what you're already doing and can expand into according to that. After all, that's where the money will be, and that's where the government will support, and that's where companies will go to. And then lastly, find your passion. That will make your life and your job so much more meaningful. You've already found your passion in industry. Go find your focus in industry. And remember, Africa is the future of the world. We have everything. Let's not sell this ourselves out. Let's stick together, learn from each other, support each other. In the past 7 years, I've met so many of you in Africa. You have it. You can do it. Thank you very much. Questions?
A lot packed into that session, Yolanda. It's just exciting that there's so much opportunity that's coming up for training, funding, and these buzzwords, as you've talked of, JET, just energy. And we keep on hearing of the triple bottom line. It's people, planet, and profit. So this is an opportunity for energy professionals to really find their niche and make an impact. I'd like to ask for the audience to post their questions in the chat section because we might be pressed for time and we want to pack all that into the breakout rooms that we'll be having. So after this, questions will be directed to you, Yolanda, in the breakout session. As they're coming in the chat box, someone will pick them for you. Right, we are about 70, 75 participants in the room. This is actually the biggest we've seen so far. And I'd just like to give us a taste of who is in the audience. So we have a poll to launch. First of all, just asking to see what kind of age brackets we have in the room. So that will be, Ruth, can you help us launch poll number 2, please? Okay. Just to get a feel of who we have in the room, I kindly just take a moment, fill out your responses. Seeing a lot of participation, we'd like to put you in the right spaces when you're going to the breakout sessions. So we want to know what level of professional development you're in. Are you just starting out in the field? Are you more experienced? Are you looking for insights into how you're improving your business? Or do you need guidance into getting into the career of energy management, energy efficiency, or generally the energy field? So just 15 more seconds and we shall be closing the poll. 10 people are yet to vote. Kindly just put in your vote. Great. I think we can end it there and showcase. Wow. Huge majority, almost 50%, so 44%, 26 to 35 years old. We have, yes, people who are starting out, 25 and below, 33%. That's a big, significant figure in the room. And 36 to 50, so these are the more experienced professionals, 13%. And then some even more experienced people, 51 and above, at 10%. This is really interesting. Now you know who's in the room. Okay, we'll launch one other poll in relation to the presentation that's been given around training and capacity development. We'd like to know more about what you have been doing, how you've been investing in your own professional development. So have you had any formal training in the past 3 months, either virtual or in person? More important, it's gaining the momentum of going, now considering delivering either on-site in a hybrid manner. So it can be that they come on site, they do part of the training online, or it can be fully virtual where you go on and find a course and do it. So I'd like to know, have you been attending any formal training in the past 3 months? The recent pandemic has also caused a lot of shift in how people see the profession, the skills that are needed to sustain the change. 75% of you have voted. Just put in your vote, you have about 5 seconds. In a minute. So yes, 50% of you have had some formal training. and about 47. So it's almost a split result. And this also now raises the question of where are we headed professionally? Are there opportunities? Okay, great, thanks for that. Our second presentation is to paint a picture on how Africa's energy sector can embrace technology for sustainability. Joakim Bystrom is here to share more on the topic. Two things to note about Joakim. One is that he's the CEO of Absolicon, an innovative solar thermal developer and manufacturer with a keen interest in the world to transition to using renewable energy. Two is that he has sharpened his business management skills from working at a family-owned wood tool production company called Logosol. So this solid work experience and starting out your own business is a truly innovative move, and one that we can learn something from today. Welcome, and feel free to fill us in on any other detail that would help us learn more about you, Joakim. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think on my resume also, I've been part of starting a solar energy school in Sweden that have vocational 2 years training. And that is one of the things I think we need also in Africa, a lot of more schools for energy professionals. And I would actually throw ourselves into a presentation with some slides. Let's see if you can enable my slide sharing, because I think that one of the big challenges here is handling the need of heat. And much of the discussion today is about electricity. Let's see here. So what you see now, I think, is the starry night of Härnösand with some northern lights. But I would like you to see the solar collectors. See, why is this? New share. Screen one. Here, yes.
We do see solar collectors.
You do see the solar collectors. Do you have Absolicon now on screen?
Yes, we do.
Good. So we are a stock listed company in Sweden, and our key knowledge is to make the best parabolic collector in the world that can generate 160 degrees of heat and steam. And it's easy to forget that heat is the majority of the energy that we use in the society. Electricity only 20%, and transport is 31%. But in our daily life, we are surrounded by electricity, and that is why that is dominating our thoughts. But when it comes to the majority of the energy, it's actually heat. And if we come to industry uses half of the heat and about a third of the electricity. And this fantastic revolution with wind and PV, it is just still a small part of the electricity production. And what we will see in the coming decades is that this renewable electricity with wind and PV will take over more and more of this blue part here that is today mainly produced by coal and oil and gas. But the electricity will also be needed in the transport sector. In the heat sector, though, we need other solutions. And I think that this kind of collector systems, this is from Absolicon, but there are also other manufacturers. This will be the future for heating processes, mainly in industry, but also in hospitals and large buildings. And when it comes to the climate and Paris, I think everyone knows what you can see to the right, that we need to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees. But a few lines further down, it says on the left that to achieve this, we need to reach net zero emission of greenhouse gases in the second half of this century. And I think still a lot of people think that we just need to reduce the CO2 emissions, but we actually need to get to zero. And that's a big difference. Because what has happened up to now is that the economy is run on fuel, This is the Kenya oil consumption, but it looks similar in all the African countries. And if we look, it's a steady increase as the economy is getting stronger. And if we look at the industry is fueling all their processes using coal and oil and gas, and then they have some small part of electricity. But when we see in energy efficiency work and other energy planning in countries and with policies, it's mainly aimed at the electricity part, even though that is the smaller part. And if we look at the IPCC roadmap for 1.5 degree, the global CO2 emissions need to cut by half every 10 years. So the carbon sector need to reduce drastically. At the same time as we are stop burning fossil fuel, the world population will grow from 1 billion middle-class people to 4 billion middle-class people. So the global economy will increase 4 times by 2050. And today we have a special way of producing all the goods that we need that has quite a big environmental impact. But if you would quadruple this, the world would not be able to sustain us. So we need a new way of producing all these goods that we are using. So if this is the fossil, the energy consumption will still continue to increase. And there is only one way to fill this gap between fossil fuel and energy need, and that is solar. Of course, some wind power, some biofuel can make a help, but solar energy is the only energy source that is abundant on Earth for mankind. And when I talk about solar energy, I don't primarily talk about electricity producing solar cells. I talk about the heat. Because if you look at the normal dairy plant, for example, about 1/4 of the electricity consumption, of the energy consumption electricity, and 3/4 are heat. And that's because all the processes in the dairy, the pasteurization, the clean in place, the separation of milk and dairy, and the evaporation for making dry milk, all of these are heat-driven processes that need just a little electricity, but the dairy industry, it is run on heat. And if we come to a textile industry, it is the same. 85% is heat, 15% is electricity. And that is because all the processes in the textile industry, the bleaching, the dyeing, the washing, the drying, those are heat processes. And we can go to the tea industry, it is the same. The main process is drying the tea leaves, and that requires enormous amount of heat. So if we look at the industry, a textile industry in the future, those 15% that is electricity, they will come from solar cells and wind power, and the 85% that is heat, that need to become solar thermal, and maybe in combination with some biofuel. So when you're looking at the future energy system in your country or your region or an industry, this is what you should look for. You need 1/4 of the energy is electricity and 3/4 are heat. So for the electricity, you need to build PV fields that has about 18% efficiency, and you would store the electricity in batteries. For the heat, that is 75%, you would have concentrating collectors that can produce steam for the processes. And the collectors, they have 76% thermal efficiency, and you store the energy in hot water tanks. So as you understand from this picture, there is no need to make, if you want electricity, you should use PV cells. If you want heat, you should use solar thermal collectors, because the solar thermal collectors have 76% efficiency and the solar cells has only 18%. So start thinking in those two solar energy sectors. And what is happening with the fossil fuel is that it will just become more and more expensive. But the solar thermal, it has a cost curve that is making it cheaper and cheaper, the same as PV and wind. And step by step, the price of solar thermal have now decreased to be lower than of fossil fuel. And the ultimate target is that solar thermal in an industry will cost about half of the fossil fuels cost today. And what will then happen is that there will be different CO2 add-ons that will increase the cost further by taxing CO2 or putting other hindrances. So what is happening now is that solar thermal is creating this kind of blue ocean of customers with no competition, because all the fossil fuel companies, they are competing very strongly with each other, but they can't provide what the customer needs, which is a lower energy cost. And it's quite easy to use solar thermal to heat processes in the industry. You just need to focus the light just with a magnifying glass. And in this spot, you get very high temperature that can be turned into heat. And this is the Absolicon system, but there are several similar, where you have a silver reflector, you have a black pipe that collects the heat, and it's protected by a self-cleaning glass. And the main driver here will be that solar thermal can replace fossil fuel in the industry due to lower cost. But you also have a lot of other benefits. One is, of course, that you don't have any emissions, neither of particles that kill people or CO2. But there is also this difference that the oil is imported to the country with a big cost, but the solar collectors are built and installed locally. And once they are installed, you have free energy forever. And what we see here, and which is my message to the energy professionals, is that we're looking for a tremendous transformation of the industry from burning fuels to use solar thermal. And the engineering effort required here is enormous. And many of those processes today in a dairy and the textile industry, they are powered by high temperatures. And those processes need to be redesigned to work with lower temperatures that fits solar thermal better. And there is also a big need for solar thermal storage research and implementation. You can have pit storage in the ground that can store up to 95. You have pressurized tank when you have salt storage for the heat. And heat is much, much easier to store than electricity. Electricity is so difficult to store, but heat, you just need hot water. And the skills needed is, of course, all the basic solar thermal skills with pumps and piping and installations, and to do planning and design of solar thermal systems. But there was this process re-engineering, and we're now working with the tea industry in Kenya, where today have steam from a biofuel boiler that is heating hot air for the tea dryer. And instead we are supplying a solar-powered hot air generator that produces this hot air for the process. But it's the same in the dairy industry and the chemical industry. A lot of processes need to be redesigned. We touched on financing, and this is also, I think, a field where a lot of skills are needed. You need to have the banks and the financiers and the donors, everyone lined up to do this transformation from fuel to solar thermal. And then finally, the skills to locally produce the solar concentrators. And there is something that we can help with. Absolicon's main product is actually not the collector, but the robotized production line that produces one solar collector every 6 minutes. And we are about to start supplying those production lines to South Africa and Kenya. And if you want one, there's 9 months delivery time. But I think my main message is this with the distribution of the different energy forms, that heat is, electricity is 20%, shipping, cars, airplanes are 30%, and heat is 50%. So when you plan your career, think about where the majority of the energy goes. And how will it be solved? Well, the electricity, we will have windmills and PV. For the transport sector, there will be electric cars and batteries. And for the heat sector, there will be solar concentrators and flat panels to produce hot water, industrial heat, and domestic heating and cooling. And you have fantastic solar conditions in Africa. We are now active in Kenya and in South Africa, and the radiation is about 3 times higher than what we have in Sweden. So it's easy to run your industries like in South Africa or in Kenya, there is the food industry, some textile industry, the drink and beverage, tea industry that today are burning hundreds of thousands of tons of oil every year to heat. In South Africa, you have the pharma industry, mechanical industry, and drink and beverage that also are consuming huge amounts of heat. So this is my message to you. Think about how to run the country when it comes to the heat and the electricity for the industry, and solar is the solution.
Thank you so much, Joakim, for that. This has been a very interesting conversation about thermal energy being such a huge opportunity for innovation. You've talked of training opportunities as well as room for improvement in large consuming industries such as textile industries, food processing, which includes tea, it can be beverage, and the fact that decarbonization is becoming important today more than ever. I'd also like to recognize that the approach to thermal energy management, as you pointed out, is actually quite, it's a bit complex, and not many people are willing to go into that opportunity, whereas it's one of the largest energy uses in industry. Electrical energy management is a bit more understandable, as I've seen from my experience with energy audits. But when it comes to thermal, there's such a huge opportunities because of the processes that are there, be it thermal, be it boilers, be it other processes for heat exchange. And that is something that I think there could be such a big potential. So questions directed to you will again be put in the chat section. And once we launch into the breakouts, you will get a chance to respond to them directly with those who are interested to learn more about this. So thank you so much. Without further ado, I'd like to first of all recognize some of the able speakers whom we've had in the past. So Heather, Andy, and Elvis, all of you feel welcome to the event. This is such an honor. It's a build-up of what you have contributed in the past. So we're just benefiting from the audience that and interest that you've helped pull in. So thank you so much. We'll launch a poll to get an understanding of whether the innovation and the current situation and even the future of energy has triggered any kind of new thinking and new action for you. So is your company, your team, or are you even individually working on innovating a product or service at the moment? So if you're a student, have you been working on a project? If you're a professional, have you been considering new ways of approaching your business, especially in the energy sector? Is this a new training program? Is it a particular hardware or software device that you've been considering? So if you're a student also, have you been working on an innovation that you'd like more people to know about, or at least the industry to embrace? So 20 seconds for this. And I see about half of us have responded. Just take a moment to give us your feedback and understanding of whether you have been working on any innovation, whether a product or a service at the moment. So in 5 seconds, we'll close the poll. Okay, great. Yes, look at the majority. 71% are now innovating. People are seeing the direction of the energy industry, and a lot of you are now considering new alternatives for a better future. So thank you for this. Our third presentation is about, it's a bit more diverse, it's a bit different. It's about growing people for personal and professional success in the energy field. Colleta Macharia is here to share more on the topic. Two things I noted about Colleta. One is that she is an accomplished career coach and author of the book, How to Design Your Career Game Plan. Two, that her transformation came from a life in various fields, including accounting, professional education, professional coaching, writing and editing, all spanning 25 years and 5 countries. Colleta, you embody the phrase, think global and act local. We are honored to have your presence today, and please tap into a bit of your experience. Welcome, and please feel free to fill us in on any other information about you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I am very honored to be here this morning, and very delighted to be speaking to forward-thinking professionals in the energy sector. And you asked me to fill you in on other information about me. I am married and I have 2 sons, one young adult and one teenager, who teach me a lot of things. And so today I was asked to speak to the topic, growing young people for personal and professional success in the energy sector. And when I looked at this, I thought, growing, you know, it just sounded really, really interesting. And my temptation was to change it and say perhaps developing. But then I realized there is a significance to that word. And as I go along, I hope that it will come out. And thinking about growing, I took it to mean that there are those who are in that space of growing others, and there are those who are in the space of being grown. But at the end of the day, we are all growing, and we all need to be growing, because the moment you stop growing, you die. And so back to the topic, growing young people for personal and professional success in the energy field. So thinking about we who are growing the young people, who are we? It's the parent, it's the teacher, it's the coach, it's the mentor at the workplace, it's the manager at the workplace, it's any person who gets the opportunity to come alongside another on their journey of personal and professional growth. And so it reminds me of this conversation that someone talked about, you know, two gentlemen were talking, and one asked the other, hey, were there any great men born during your time? And this gentleman thought for a moment and he said, no, only babies were born during my time. And so that to bring in the context that nobody is born great, nobody is born knowing everything there is to know, but we are all born. And so for us to grow young people, we have to start from when they are very young. And we have to start from when they are babies, all right? And when we talk about starting from there, it means allowing them to blossom wholly, observing them, encouraging and validating them, giving them opportunity so that their whole self can grow and develop. And I liked Yolanda's presentation because she talked a lot about where is your passion? What are you good at? Where do you gravitate towards? And these things, if we bring this information and bring this practice to the attention of the children when they are really young and encouraging those aspects that we see them gravitating to, then we will not be struggling to grow them when they are already young people or older people. Children come already imbued with a lot of imagination, curiosity, creativity. Let's not quench it. So if we are going to grow them to be professionals who are successful in the energy field and in any field, then we must not quench those qualities that they have, because if you think about the times we are living in, the so-called fourth industrial revolution times, information age, we're hearing that now we're being encouraged. No, these are the skills that you need in the 21st century workplace: creativity, collaboration, communication, curiosity. But the thing is, these are not new things. We were born with them. but where did we lose them? All right. So it's time we started thinking about a very important prefix to the things we are doing as educators, as coaches, as trainers, as managers, as parents, is reintroducing these terms that we have allowed to sleep. And rather than tell a child, shut up and sit down, is, hey, tell me what you're thinking. Tell me why that interests you, all right? And what do you think is gonna happen if you add this to that? Let's nurture that curiosity. Let's nurture that imagination, all right? Listen to them. And I like what's happening with these forums, because it's a roundtable, it's a discussion. We are coming, we are sharing, we are listening to one another. And so what these young people need is to be listened to, for their ideas to be appreciated and embraced. So it's time to rethink how we educate. It's time to rethink how much emphasis we have placed on academic subjects for the sake of getting a grade, getting an A, in school. And it's time to rethink how we teach and what we teach. I'm not saying academics are not important, they are very important, but they need to be holistic. They need to be looked at in the light of the whole person. So, and how we teach. We have overemphasized the mastery model where, I'm a teacher, I'm a trainer, I stand in front of the students and I teach them what I know. I think it's time we relaxed on that a little bit and became guides on the side rather than sages on the stage, and come alongside them so that we are not blocking their view of what lies ahead. And as we imagine this, let's expose them to the field. Let's tell them, hey, here is the world. These are the challenges. And Joakim brought in all the different aspects and all the different thinking. We've been thinking that, electricity is, the main thing here. And here comes Joakim and he says, hey, think about heat. And if you are going to be thinking about your career in this field, this is an area of consideration. Let's bring that exposure so that we can start allowing people to think through these things. And so that's for we who are in that space of supporting the young professionals as they grow. What about if you are already grown, you're no longer a baby, you're a young professional or an old professional, and you are still in that space where you need to develop yourself, because like I said, we all need to grow. So my message for you is that it's time you took charge of your own growth and of your own career and be very proactive in it. And where do you begin? Define what success means to you. What is success? For me, if I can make a difference to one person in the world, using the gifts that I have, using the things that I am passionate about, help somebody cultivate their potential and help them to become the best that they can be. That is successful. And so, let's disabuse ourselves of this notion that success is a big house or big cars or whatever. Let's really begin to rethink, what does it mean for me, and what does it mean even for me as a professional and for my career? And then from there, create a game plan to help you achieve that success. And in this game plan, again, you will be thinking about, hey, what do I have? What's my passion? What do I tend to gravitate towards? What are these things that really excite me? What problems tend to really, really disturb me to the point where I feel like I must do something about? Because those are the areas in which you are likely to find your giftings, your talents, your interests, the areas in which you can make a difference in the world. And now for you as energy professionals, assuming that you have identified this field as your area, all right? And I like the fact that in the topic I was given, it says in the energy field. So look at it as a field. All right, in the Olympic field, for example, you have the track, people running on the track, you have, people in the middle there throwing javelin, throwing shot put, doing high jump, long jump, lots of things happening in that field. And similarly, Yolanda mentioned these different aspects of the energy field. Where do you see yourself? Where do you feel like your interest is taking you? Is it in the decentralized renewable energy? Is it in the traditional utility? Is it in exploration and drilling? Is it in production? Is it in marketing? Is it in transportation? Is it in manufacturing? Where is, what is this thing that really excites you? And once you look at this field and begin to explore it, learn as much as you can about that field. Remember, we said you need to take charge because really it's your responsibility to work on your career and to work on your progress. And it doesn't mean when we say it's your responsibility, we're gonna let you do it alone. There is support. Read what there is to read. Yolanda talked a lot about educating yourself, all right? And if you're thinking, okay, where are the jobs in this area? Look at the reports, the World Economic Forum, the Powering Job Census, and I'm sure you are aware of the different places.
I think we might have missed, she might have dropped off. Colleta might just have dropped off. And we'll try and reconnect her as soon as she's back on. Okay, good. Colleta, we have you live again.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I dropped off when I was talking about, once you have this understanding of your playground and you have this understanding of where your passions lie, look at where they cross. Look at, align yourself to the appropriate field with regard to your skills, your passion, and what the needs are. And so which means that you need to really have a good grasp of what these needs are, and then put yourself out there, let people know that, hey, here I am, this is what I have, this is what I do. Whether you're gonna do that on LinkedIn, on your social media, you're gonna blog about it, of course, you're gonna create your CV and you're gonna network, be in those places where you can shine. And as you do this, remember again, there are so many people who probably have that academic qualification that you have, all right? If it's a degree, a master's, whatever, you're not the only one who has it, but there is an advantage that you have. There is something that is very unique to you that you can leverage. What is that? What are those attributes? And that will be very, very much linked to your talents and how you bring them out. So once you have that understanding and once you have begun to let other people know what you are looking for, just get ready and grab those opportunities. And I have heard a lot about opportunities today. I am very happy that it's not that lament, oh, where are the jobs, where are the opportunities? Here, what I am hearing is that opportunities are there, you need to find them. And then once you get in, whether you start a job or a career or assignments, projects, do not rest on your laurels just because you have gotten into the area. You need to continue growing. You need to continue nurturing yourself. You don't arrive. And that means that you will be growing more skills, you will be increasing your capacity to do more, to solve more problems, to offer more solutions, and even to have a clearer and better understanding of which areas need not just solutions to existing problems or to foreseeable problems, but also imagination that can just make life better for other people. And so as I say this, linking these two, for us who are in the space of supporting other people's development, I like what my coach trainer and mentor emphasizes in the sessions that we have. Coach the person, not the problem. Cultivate the person and the potential in them. Because the moment we do this, then this person will be in that position where they can spot the challenges and create solutions. And as I wind up, I want to point out just two people that have really fascinated me in the way they have approached this whole idea of bringing out their gifts and becoming problem solvers. And one of them is a gentleman called William Kamkwamba. There is this movie, I think it came out last year, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And when you think about this young man at 13 years old, facing a very serious challenge of being kicked out of school because his parents have not paid school fees, Yet he is one who gravitates towards fixing things, fixing the radios for his friends and working with his hands and going into the junkyard to look for discarded stuff so that he can make use of it. And the whole village is crying that we have a drought here, we have a problem, and he decides, I can do something about it. He sneaks into the library and gets books and continues reading more and comes and creates a windmill. And he just brings life to that village by creating a gadget that is able to harness the wind and bring water to solve the problem for many people in the village at 13 years old. And so, and another young gentleman, Richard Turere, who created the lion lights so that he could protect his parents' cows from marauding lions at 11 years old. So when we allow these young people for their creativity, for their innovativeness, we give them that opportunity, they will spot the problems and they will create the solutions. We need to get out of their way. We need to encourage them. We need to support them to do this. Coach the person, not the problem. And the person will come in and find solutions to these problems. And our part then will be to support, to offer guidance, to be their cheerleaders, and to see them succeeding and making a difference in the world. And I know that we're going to have some more time in the breakout rooms to discuss these things. So I would like to end it there. Thank you very much.
Excellent references, Colleta. Coach the person, not the problem. It's really our responsibility to take charge of the career that we so feel passionate about. You and I, you, the audience, you, the participants, are here to grow yourself. And as Colleta put it, take charge of your own career. Yolanda also alluded to the same. Find the niche that makes you stand out. That's also the other thing that Joakim also pointed out, that you should find your niche in the particular industry, see the opportunity, look keenly, and give yourself time to find that opportunity. So this has been an amazing session. I would request that the questions are also put on the chat section and guided to our able speakers, and we shall then pick this up in the breakout sessions. We are actually really running short on time, and I'd just like to point that the conversations are very interesting, but the time might again be run out quickly. So I'd like us to consider adding the letters. We'll have two breakouts, just to clarify. One is on career growth, one is on professional capacity building. So to make it clear is that if you want to go into career growth with Colleta, please add the word CG at the end of your name, and the person setting up the breakout room will add you to that room. And if you're going into the room with Yolanda on professional capacity building, please add the word PCB to your name, and you shall be added to the room, the breakout room. I need to point out that Joakim, who's touching on both innovation and growth and professional development, will also be switching between either of these rooms, and we'd want him to come into the room and attend to any question that you might have with regards to professional development, with regards to technology. He's really interested in solar thermal, so this would be an interesting opportunity to engage him one-on-one. So these two rooms, CG for career growth with Colleta, PCB for professional capacity development with Yolanda. We'll just give it a moment as everyone is put into the room before the breakout sessions begin.
Warren, may I kindly add, I am the breakout room master, or is it mistress? And Carol Gaduru, nice to meet you all. Would you kindly rename yourselves? Those that are putting it on the chat, it's a little bit of a challenge to pull out from there and put you in the right room. Kindly put it next to your name, and it's very easy to switch around like that. Back to you, Warren.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, just add these names to Add EC if you want to be in attendance with Yolanda, and add CG if you want to be in the same room with Colleta. Joakim will be present in both rooms, so don't worry. Also hold your questions for him in the respective rooms. We should just take a moment to review findings from the breakouts. So there'll be, because I'm seeing we only have 11 minutes left and the conversations might have been really interesting, we'll give 5 minutes to moderators in each of these rooms to just give us a brief summary of what transpired in the room and what sort of outcome was realized. I'll now start off with Matthew from the room on professional capacity building. So Matthew, if you don't mind, kindly let us know what findings were there in the room and what we can learn from the engagement that went on.
Well, thank you, Warren. I think our big finding was comparing, on the one hand, all the need for new skills that will need to be developed, on which Joakim gave us a really good insight on the way in which all industrial processes needs to be reshaped to adapt to new forms of energy generation, to renewable energy generation. And so there is all a bunch of engineering work that will need to be done on that end. And so this is the need that we'll have. On the other hand, Yolanda gave us a really good insight on which will be how to address that need, how to make sure that at a level company, at a country company, at the level of the company, at the level of the country, we actually manage to continuously upskill the energy professionals, doing this with in-house training, doing this thanks to government fundings, doing this thanks to specialized company, whether in Africa, whether outside from Africa, and and especially getting the funding, because most of the time, when you think about the future of energy and the funding for the future of energy, we'll think about funding the infrastructure, but actually you need to fund also that skill and actually to upskill. So this is our main output.
Thanks for that, Matthew. I'll now hand it over to Liz to also give us findings from the room with Colleta. Liz, welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Warren, for this. From our side, the questions revolved around how do people develop their game plan? How do you know your passion? And on the other side, on the innovation side, how do we get funding? And overall, what is the motivation that keeps these people who are already advanced in their careers going? So to Colleta, there was a question on mentor-mentee situation where she had mentioned about the grown and the growing, and how do we merge these two? A question was asked on how do we encourage, or what approach can the young people take to advance and have mentors? How do they approach these people who they look up to in their career paths? And she mentioned that it would be a bit spooky to just go directly. So it will be wise to develop creative ways to tap into people who we look up to and find as mentors, find creative ways to approach them through natural conversation. In the same line, questions on passion and how do you develop passion and game plan. She has a book that is available on rafflebooks.com on headline how to design your career game plan. About passion, she mentioned that we should try and remain curious. That's how you grow. That's how you remain motivated in our careers. As for Joakim was able to join us last minute, and a question on how do we, to the innovators in the room, to those young people who want to turn their innovation into commercialization, how do they tap into the finances? And he gave us a short history of how Absolicon went about it, through stock exchange, through angel investors, and
encouraged us to look at those options. So back to you, Warren. I would say those are the overall findings from our session.
Thank you so much for those remarks, Liz. We've seen a lot go on in these rooms. I'm sure we didn't have enough time to address all the questions, but nonetheless, we'll pick up the questions that were left unanswered, follow up with our respective speakers, and have them at least contribute their opinion so that once the report is out, it will capture some of the items that were not addressed in these rooms. Without further ado, we want to still understand more about the energy landscape and what professionals are trying to do in becoming relevant or staying relevant in either upskilling, in finding new ways of doing business, or simply growing and starting out in the industry. So we have a poll for you. This should be the last poll. Ruth, would you help us launch the poll? In the spirit of staying relevant, what skills, in your opinion, are you developing or reinforcing to become the industry leader that you aspire to be? Do you want to be, are you looking at adaptability, tech savviness? We have data literacy, creativity, and innovation. These are just but some of the skills that are required for the next generation leader. Which ones are most valuable to you? We have about 30 seconds. So please pick any two that you think would be relevant. It can still be any one. It's interesting. Only about 40% of you have voted. So please pick any one or two that you think would be really critical for you to start developing, or you want others to also consider in becoming relevant in the profession of energy. Energy management, it can be energy efficiency, it can be energy advocacy. Okay, so we will now close the poll in about 2 seconds. Okay, that's it. Creativity and innovation, that was a surprise. On the other end, tech savviness is not considered all that important. Adaptability and flexibility, I think that was resonated all across. And leadership still remains to be one of the top skills that one needs to reinforce. Okay, so that brings us back to this whole theme of trends, skills, innovation, technology, and how do we remain relevant as energy professionals, or how do we even grow, and how do we start out in the energy sector. Presentations by Joakim, presentations by Yolanda and Colleta have shed a light on some of the important issues that we need to bear in mind. Mark your calendars. On 14th of August of 2020, we are having an exciting launch of 2 additional opportunities for the energy professionals and young people in energy to become recognized. So this is the Energy Professionals Awards and the Youth Innovation Challenge. These are great avenues for you to get recognized for the work you've done in energy and sustainability. More details on this will be shared on email and on social media. So we encourage you to remain following the World Energy Day updates. And as we are closing, I'd still also like to take the time to appreciate the speakers who set aside their time to come and talk to us and engage with us. I'd also like to thank you for putting aside your other commitments to congregate here in sharing and learning. I hope you are walking away with something to think about and even to act on. The world needs your contribution in growing the energy field through information and action. Resources and other material related to this event, that is a recording of the webinar, a report of this engagement, will be shared on email and on the World Energy Day page. So thank you, and we shall now end the event. Thank you so much. You're now free to leave at your own accord. This is 2 minutes to the end of the event. So I'd just like to again reiterate a hearty thank you for your time, and have a good day ahead.